Hi everyone, Adrian here, welcome to Wild Bush and Grit. Today I want to talk to you about knives, hunting knives specifically. If there's something that I love to buy, it's definitely hunting rifles, but hunting knives, it's also, high up there. I don't know, there's something buying knives. So specifically what I'd like to talk about today is what I consider good characteristic of hunting knives. What makes a knife great and what makes another knife not so good, specifically for hunting. So we're going to cover a variety of topics, and I'd like to start with the steel because I think the steel is at the root of, everything in the knives world. The main characteristic of what we're looking for in a knife is sharpness and durability. So sharpness, durability, and this comes from the steel that the knife is made of. Now, the first thing I want to lay out is don't fall for marketing gimmicks, all right? This is 2024. If you get your knife from a reputable brand, good chances that, they already selected the steel that is, a good steel for their knives, all right? There are some differences here and here, of course, and we'll cover that. And then this is more like what you choose will make the difference for you, right? So assuming that all the knives are good steel, which one are best for your purpose? Because the big thing about steel is that you need to know, essentially, there are two big categories, okay? So we have the high carbon steel knives, and then you have the stainless steel knives. And the main difference is high carbon will retain an edge longer, but is prone to rust, and the stainless steel is the opposite. But the reason I'm going for carbon for hunting is because of that edge retention. Great sharpness, both, whether it's stainless or carbon, they both have great sharpness, but edge retention is better on the high carbon sides. Yes and no, kind of. And I'm saying that because it's like one of the knives that I use the most is actually not far from it being my most expensive. The knife that I use the most is a $10 Rapala knife that I bought years ago, and it still works today. I have a very, very specific task for it. I don't abuse it. I have no idea what the steel is. I can sharpen it to, to the level of a razor. It's not because it's cheap that it won't be effective. So if a $10 knife can do the job, do I have premium knives? Yes, I do. Do I need the premium knives? I'd like to plead the fifth. Well, I'm in Canada here, so it's more like Canadian Charter of Rights. Section 7, maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, to me here, it boils down to personal preference. At some point, it's more of a kind of luxury item where like, you have that nice knife with that specific steel that can perform in such and such ways. So it's really, it boils down to your personal preference. Having said that, I enjoy my premium knives, okay? There is a level of craftsmanship to some of these that, a $10 knife will never give you. On the flip side, if I were to lose this knife in a river somewhere, I will not cry a river. It's $10, I'll move on, I'll buy another one, and that's it. I lost countless moras. I lost a Garber. Those here in Canada, those are like $200. And seriously, I still think about it. Like, if I hadn't lose the other one, I'd had 2 Garber today instead of just 1. But anyway, so steel is important, but don't fret too much about the steel. If you're buying your knives from a reputable brand, that's what I'm trying to get at. Know that stainless steel is great. You can sharpen it to, razor sharp. Carbon, in my opinion, is better because you have a better edge retention. And when you're hunting, to me, that's all that matters, that edge retention. But one topic that I feel maybe we don't discuss much, online at least, is the steel. Having the proper steel is great, but I think the edge geometry, by far, is more important than the actual steel that you're using. Think about the edge geometry. So what do I think about edge geometry? For the best edge retention, you need more material behind that edge, that apex, and you can grind the knife to varying degrees. And the consensus here for hunting knives is around 17 to 20 degrees. So I would say go to 17 if you have a high carbon knives. And if you're using a stainless steel, then maybe open it up a little to 20 degrees so you have more material supporting that softer steel, right? And then you'll get a great edge. I actually made a video on how I sharpen my hunting knives. I'm gonna put the link up there. You can watch it. Now, what do I consider a great hunting knife in terms of geometry, in terms of form? The first thing I'm looking for is a belly. You know, I want that rounded. Even this one is not that great. You know, it's more of a multi-purpose knife, so it does have some belly. But I have a new knife here. I actually got two, and I'll show you. I want something much rounder. Okay, like the Gerber here, and also have a MKC Montana knife with a really nice belly. Having a belly on your hunting knives really help you to slice and cut and skin an animal. The second aspect also I like is I want a thin knife. The Mora Gerber here, even if I love it, it's super thick. And when you have a thick knife, when you're cutting things, you're splitting the material you're cutting instead of just slicing it. Okay, so if I were to cut a potato with that knife and you press, the potato actually cracks open before the blade can do its work. You know, it's like a wedge. On the other hand, when you have a thin blade, like this knife's super thin profile and really can cut and slice. The second thing I absolutely need in my hunting knives is a sharp point. Okay, you want to be able to do very careful cuts. Let's say you're field dressing the animal and you need to cut around the butthole to free up the rectum, tie it up. You need something pointy that can go in deep and make a nice cut. When you're working up in the cavities, the lung, the diaphragm area, you want to be something small enough also. I need to talk about the size. I don't like big knife. I love small knives that can go in small area where you can make a tiny precise cut. I don't want my blades to be too wide, okay? And I want my blades to be relatively short, very pointy with a nice belly. I think this makes what makes a great hunting knife. So what I like to do now is to have multiple specialty knives with me. So I still have this one with me when I'm doing some chore, and I can use it if needed. But for the actual field dressing and quartering an animal, I prefer a small knife like this, okay? Or the Gerber here also. Why would I prefer this one over this one? Well, it's just the length, right? So when you're cutting, again, that butthole area, this knife won't cut it and it's too wide. But for skinning an animal, I think this one will do wonder because it's very short and you can make like precise cut and open up the skin. When working on an animal in the fields, like you don't need to you don't need to cut bones. You know, if you know what you're doing, you can splice up an entire moose in 15-20 minutes easily with just a simple knife. When it comes to bones, you don't need to cut the bones itself. You just cut the cartilage, cut the ligaments, and you can just split the bones without any issue at all. So it's don't think that you need to bring an axe or a hacksaw or something to cut the limbs of a deer. No, even the head, the neck, the vertebrae, you want that pointy knife to be able to reach part and cut all the tissues and the connective tissues between the bones, and things will just come off very easily if you know where to cut. And of course, you have to you need to gain some experience in that, but know that we're not using our hunting knives to actually cut through bones. One thing I do sometimes, however, having said that, is with that thicker blade, I might open up the sternum area when it's maybe difficult to reach or I can't quite see what I'm doing. I try not to do that too much when I'm in the field because I still want to protect as much as possible the meat. But sometimes it's important to really go up, open up the sternum, and I don't think I'll be able to do this with that. You know, the sternum is one flat, solid bones, quite heavy ribs, and only a thick knife. And it's not that hard, but you still need to push it. And yes, this will split bones easily. Soft bones, all right? I'm not talking about like a femur or, but the rib cage. I can cut the rib cage easily with this knife. So another tip I also have for you when you're buying your knife is, if you don't mind, like I personally advise you to go with the lightest knife that you can. Some manufacturer will actually sell you blanks, okay? So the blanks is just the blade without any handle. And you can just wrap paracord around it, and those make still fine hunting knives. And the why I'm saying this is you don't need a full handle on a hunting knife, in my opinion, right? Because the task that we're asking, what we're cutting, it's not hard material. It's like skin, hides, fat, muscle, ligaments, and some cartilage. Those tissues are soft enough, so you don't need like a firm grip on your knife. The reason I'm saying this, why you can buy blanks, is actually much cheaper. It's much cheaper to buy a blanks blade and wrap some paracord on it. Like, I'm in the market for new knives. I know, like, I don't have more, but that's not the deal. It's pretty cheap. It's the Heli Mandra, and in blanks. And I'm like, yes, I'm just gonna buy it and wrap it with paracord, and it's gonna look something similar to this one here. This is my son's, by the way. I bought his for last year for his first moose hunt. But there are many other brands out there. I recently got the MKC. I wanted one for a long time, but they're very hard to get. They're always sold out. And when I had the chance, I did it. And those are quite expensive, right? So again, do I need premium knives? No, I think it's more of a, you know, lifestyle, like let's splurge a little here and here. And so it's, yeah, it's, to me, at this level, it's almost like jewelry, right? You're buying a nice object that you want to own, that you're going to love, and maybe one day pass on to someone else. So that's what these knives are. The Mora are like, abuse me as much as you can, and when they're done, you move on to the next. So that's it, folks. I hope that gives a little bit of insight of what I think of hunting knives. Many ways to skin a cat. I'm sure people have other, favorites out there. Please join the discussion in the comments. If you're not a subscriber yet, what are you waiting for? Come on in. This is a safe space. We can talk, we can exchange, and we can all grow together. All right. So see you, folks. Thank you so much.